Hello, everyone. You're watching You Got It with Warrior Woman 91. Welcome back, everyone, to my latest video episode. I'm very excited to be doing these again, and I'm especially excited to have my next guest on, Abby. Well, she's Classically Abby on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and wherever else you get your social media. Abby, thanks so much for coming on my show.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. So, one of the things, we were talking a little bit off camera about the first time we actually interacted in person was at a Christmas party, and
Yeah.
this is the funniest thing that stood out to me, the fact that I met somebody that was having difficulty dressing an hourglass figure. And this is the thing. This is like the thing for me. I have an hourglass figure, and it's such a pain to try and dress. And it's the way that fashions are nowadays are just really, really frustrating. They're not meant for that kind of a figure. So this is why I knew that we had clicked and we had bonded over this mutual struggle in this area.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
What I wanted to start talking to you about today really was fashion. And do you have any like top 5 tips or anything just for not even just an hourglass figure, but just a baseline? Here's where you start when you're trying to, develop your own style of fashion, or, kind of delve into different things. What things should you like look for, and what things should you kind of like avoid, I guess, are basically my questions on the fashion scale there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think the first thing is, and you already kind of have that, is knowing what your body type is. Mm-hmm. That's like a lot of people don't even know what their body type is. So having an hourglass figure, if you have more of a straight figure up and down, if you're more pear-shaped, if, wherever you hold more weight or how your weight is distributed, that's the first thing you should know for your body, because if you're trying to dress your body for, the styles that we have available nowadays, and you have an hourglass figure like you and me, it's just not going to work out very well from my experience. So that's the first thing that I always say is like, try and figure out exactly what your body type is. And then once you know that, you can try and find some basics that will work with your body. And then you can pull in some fun, cheap, like more cheap items from like Forever 21 or H&M or whatever to spice up your wardrobe. And that can go out of style, and you can, give away after a couple years because it wasn't that expensive when you got it. But as far as dressing an hourglass figure, one of the things that I've found is tops nowadays are just incredibly boxy. There's something called darts. I don't know if anyone knows about this. It's basically the idea that you have in your shirts, there's a seam that will bring in the shape of the shirt a little bit more to your waist. Mm-hmm. Because everything is fast fashion now, and people don't really want to put darts in because it differs for every body shape. We have a lot of shirts that have no shape, none. Yeah. And you're just kind of like, what do I do with this? How do I wear this? So here's my recommendation when it comes to boxy shirts, because I feel like that's the only shirts you can find nowadays, is wear something fitted on the bottom. If you wear, like, basically always balance proportions. If you're wearing a skirt that has more volume, wear a more tight fitting shirt. If you're wearing a shirt that has a lot of volume, wear maybe some close cropped pants. Mm-hmm. Something like that. It's just always making sure that you don't look too poofy everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
But people like my sister-in-law, she has a very narrow frame. My sister-in-law, my husband's sister, she has a very narrow frame. She can get away with having a lot of volume on her body because she doesn't have volume kind of naturally there.
Yeah.
So like a boxy blouse on her, she can actually wear a more voluminous skirt with that, and it works for her. I generally don't recommend that for the average person, but she can do it. So I'm like, go ahead, wear that. So once you kind of figure out what works for your body, and you go into the dressing room and you try out a bunch of things and you figure out, okay, this silhouette works for me. Find 5 skirts in that silhouette and just stuff them in your closet. That's going to be just your easiest go-to, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the bodycon dress, that's like a go-to for me.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Yeah, it seems like for the average person, maybe people are not wearing that, but it looks normal. It doesn't make me look pregnant, because that's honestly, that is the problem that hourglass figures have, is that depending on what you're wearing, you're going to look pregnant or you're going to look like not. So
Yeah.
I mean that
I don't know if you had the same issue when you graduated wearing a graduation gown. It was
oh
like the worst looking item of clothing I had ever put on my body.
yes.
So yes, wearing bodycon dresses is a really good choice for hourglass figures because really what it is it accentuates your waist. When you have an hourglass figure, you have shape on top and shape on bottom. What's going to make that look great for you is when you have that definition in the middle. If you're not defining that, it's just, oh, she's big everywhere, which is not the case. So.
Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing because the outfit I have on right now is it's form fitting on the bottom, but then I've got like this poofy, like crop top on top, which crop tops have been a thing that have just kind of saved me. Like,
right? You know why though?
Yeah.
Because they're cut right above the waist.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can still see where you're narrowest.
Yeah, so like you can wear a poofy crop top with a form-fitting bottom, or you can wear a form-fitting crop top with a more poofy skirt or something. Those have just really kind of saved my life in terms of fashion, and I feel like I like seeing crop tops and seeing other items of clothing like that just make me feel like maybe hourglasses are starting to be more appreciated nowadays.
Yes.
That's kind of something I wanted.
Here, actually. Yeah. I've been noticing that too because I think it's funny. I think it's not necessarily hourglass. I think it's the Kardashian body type where it's like a lot of junk in the trunk.
Yeah.
That's kind of making a comeback. And it's actually funny. I was talking to my husband and a bunch of his friends, and that is the kind of ideal body type for a lot of men nowadays, which is was not the case when I was in high school. That was like, no, that's a pear shape, but now that's considered like ideal. And a lot of designers are designing for that body shape, which can help us hourglass shaped girls because we do have that shape on the bottom, but we also have shape on the top, which is it ends up working well for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's super helpful because again, like as you said, when I was in high school, it was straight, like flat everything. Like you could not have curves whatsoever, or you were considered fat. And that's I had a lot of like body issues a lot. I feel like partially it's because of that. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like anorexic or anything, but I looked at all my friends who were dressing like the trends, and I was looking at myself, and I'm like, I'm wearing the same stuff, and I look terrible. Yeah. So I feel as an adult now, I feel a little bit more confident in the fact that it's not because the clothes look bad on you. It's just because your body type does not fit those clothes. And so those clothes you should throw out and look for something else. You can find other things. It's not, I don't need to, I don't need to throw my body out. I need to throw the clothes out and find better clothes that fit my body type, I guess.
For sure. Yeah. No, one of the things, this is something I was really like touched when my husband and I were talking, because of course, I think every woman has body image issues, no matter what body type you have.
Yeah.
And my husband said to me, he said, I don't look for a thin girl, a skinny girl. I look for somebody who exercises, who's healthy. He's like, I just want you to be healthy. That's it. Yeah. And for me, that was like, oh, I don't have to try and change my body type. I just need to go, go for a walk or exercise or do whatever it is that just keeps me healthy. And it's not about trying to change the way that you look from like a fundamental level.
Yeah, I mean, it's also it's kind of a similar thing for women because women aren't necessarily, I think women especially, even more so than men, aren't necessarily looking for guys that look like the models in the magazines or whatever. Yeah. They're looking for somebody who gives a crap. Yes, and I think that's kind of what your husband is saying. I just want you to give a crap. I just want you to care about how you look to a certain extent, to not to lose sleep over it, just to be like, you know what, I want to take care of myself, because this is my body and I want to do it justice. I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact that, oh, I didn't fit in that particular style at in that particular decade. It is just one other thing I have to bring up. I've been rewatching Smallville, which is like, this is when I went to high school kind of show, and I was looking at the fashions and I was like, no wonder I was so stressed out. I couldn't wear any of these clothes.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, all of the jeans that were like, it's so low rising. Were they even there? It was like, no one's going to look good in that unless you are flat as a board.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that, but not to get off track at all, but just to a little bit. Just to say that, yeah, I think that it's a nice thing when you have a partner and you try to look good for each other. I feel like that's something that we've kind of pushed away lately. It's like, no, I don't tell me what to do, and I can eat whatever I want, and I don't have to exercise, and just let me be. And it's like a gift that you give to your partner to say, I'm going to try and stay healthy, and not just for the visual aspect, but also just being healthy means that I'm not going to get sick as often, and I'm not going to, my life is going to be, our life is going to be better together. So
yeah,
I just wanted to throw that in there.
no, I totally agree. And I think that there's kind of been this misperception of, you only have to work out if you're going to be losing weight, or you're only having to work out if you are a fitness expert or something. But I think, and this is something I've learned over the years, you have to work out just because you exist. I mean, you have to exercise. Like, it's not just like, when I was a lot younger, I thought, well, it's just something my teachers made me do in school. It's, and then I went to college, and I had I don't know, my metabolism was a lot better in college, so I was able to get away with a lot poorer eating. And then I got older and I started putting on weight, and I was like, well, I guess maybe I should just start lifting weights. And that's something I think women, we're totally getting off track, but I just want to
but I love this topic also. Yeah. So I am a weightlifting, like, I love weightlifting more than anything, more than cardio. So go on.
Yes. So weightlifting is like the last thing on earth that I ever expected I would get involved in. Weightlifting is a guy thing.
Right.
Like, women do not weightlift. Yeah. And then I started like, I was like stressed out. I need to find something online to like help me, like teach me how to exercise properly.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking online, and the YouTube channel is Rebecca Louise Fitness or something. And she's the one that I use for all my like my workouts and all that kind of thing. And all she does is weightlift. I know. And so I started weightlifting, even just 2 pounds. I started at 2 pounds, and I'm almost at 10 pounds now, which like, it doesn't sound like a lot. I know 10 pounds is
that's amazing.
But it's a huge jump for me.
Well, it also feels like, this is one thing I love about weightlifting, is that it's such an obvious, you can see your growth so clearly because you're moving up in weight.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I was using 2 pounds, now I'm using 5 pounds. You can see a visual growth there, versus with cardio, it's like, oh, I just ran for, another 10 minutes, but I ran 10 minutes yesterday. So it's not really that bad.
And the other thing about weightlifting is, even though it hurts, like if you do a really hard workout or whatever, I usually feel good about myself after I do it. After I jog, I feel like death.
Oh my gosh. Every time I used to do cardio, I would vomit. And I was like, this is the worst. I hate this. Jacob makes fun of me all the time because he's like, you clearly were not meant. Like, if you're in a zombie apocalypse, you're not running away. You have childbearing hips. Like, you're like, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. But I could probably lift a zombie and throw him out of my way. So,
yeah. So basically, the moral of this conversation is, don't stress out about your weight so much, but lift weights. Because that's I could go on about the weightlifting, but like, I don't have to do ab workouts anymore, because weightlifting actually works your core.
Exactly.
And that's something like Friendy, one of your sisters, actually has been like giving me advice on that, and it's just amazing. I hated ab workouts. I have no ability to use my ab muscles unless I'm lifting weights, and then I'm engaging those muscles and I'm doing it correctly, instead of just trying to fight to do one, sit up or crunch or whatever. I hate those. I cannot stress enough. I love seeing I saw that you were weightlifting on your Instagram, and I was so excited about that. I was like, somebody else figured out this is fun. Women can do it.
I have to give 100% credit to my husband, because he's the one who was like, you got to start weightlifting. And I have made so much more progress through that, because I'm also more excited to go to the gym to do it than I was ever making when I was trying to like run or do the elliptical or whatever else it was.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I hate doing all the others. I still do some of the others because, sometimes you have to, but the weightlifting is my favorite thing. And I've had the most results from that, I think.
And also just PSA, it's good for women because we are prone to osteoporosis. So it's actually good to use your body weight when you don't use those joints and things. I learned this from a nutritionist. You're more prone to getting osteoporosis when you're older. So it's actually good for your body now and later.
There you go. All right. So now that we've completely gone off on all the rabbit trails, I did want to kind of switch because we did start talking about fashion, and I also wanted to talk to you about makeup because this is an area of my life where I have been lacking, except like in the last couple of years, I've started to kind of learn how to do it. So just in the same way that you gave like your top pieces of fashion advice, do you have any pieces of advice for people who are just starting out with makeup, or they've been using makeup for a long time but they're probably not doing it right? What are some like basic do's and don'ts basically for makeup use?
Yeah, well, the first thing is in the same way you have to figure out your body type for fashion, figure out your skin type. Because the first time I started doing my makeup, I was watching all of these YouTubers and they were all people with really dry skin. And at that point in my life, I had really oily skin. So I kept trying all of these foundations and I would come back at the end of the day and it was like melted off my face. Did not look great. And it took me about 2 or 3 months to be like, oh, wait, I'm buying the wrong products. So figure out if you have oily skin, combo skin, dry skin. And one of the ways you can do that is wash your face and then wait about 15 minutes. If it still feels dry and tight, then you probably have dry skin. And if it starts to feel oily, then you probably have oily skin. If it's kind of a mixture, then you have combo. So that will really, really direct you as far as foundation, which is like the most important thing for your makeup. Because if your foundation is bad and everything else looks great, in 20 minutes, it's all going to look terrible. So having that like base down is going to make the biggest difference. Something that has become really popular over the past couple of years is primer. If you want to elongate the length of your makeup over the course of the day, you can get primers that will work with your skin type, which is really great. You can get ones that, like I use a mattifying one usually during spring and summer when my skin is more oily, and I use a dewy one during fall and winter just to help my skin stay more moisturized. And that will really actually like makes a visual difference that 8 hours later, my skin and my makeup still looks pretty much the same as when I applied it versus when you don't use a primer, you're touching your face and all that stuff and it's going to come off. So that's a big recommendation of mine. And then this is like my biggest thing. So I do not like spending money on makeup. I mean, I love spending money on makeup, but I don't like spending money, like a ton of money on one thing. Yeah. And I think when people aren't familiar with makeup, they think they need to buy the most expensive thing because that's what's going to make the difference. Yeah. You really, really don't. There are a million great products at your drugstore. Most drugstores are really stepping up their game lately because this whole beauty thing has like blown up since YouTube and influencers and content creators have taken over the scene. Yeah. And it's just a huge, huge thing to be able to walk into your drugstore and instead of spending $45 on 1 ounce of foundation, you can spend $13. So very much recommend checking out your drugstore and watching YouTube channels that say like top 10 drugstore foundations, stuff like that. A lot of the time, those are actually really useful.
Yeah. I don't know how people learned how to use makeup prior to YouTube because I learned everything, even at my limited ability, I learned everything from YouTube, 100%.
And I will agree with you there.
Anytime I get something new, like somebody gave me some eyeshadow for my birthday one year, I immediately went to YouTube to, how do I put this on? I don't know.
It's so true, right? And then you talk to people or you at least watch people who really did exist, like became makeup artists before YouTube, and they were reading books on this stuff. But how much harder is it when you're not getting that visual guide?
Exactly. I don't know how I could do it without seeing somebody else do it on somebody. Or on themselves, and then being able to say, oh, that's where that goes, or that where, like, it does seem, it's only been in the last 20, 30 years, but it seems like prehistoric to have to go to a book to look at this kind of
stuff. I know, right? It's so crazy. I think the same thing. I mean, even the fact that like you can order this stuff on Amazon, you don't even have to go to the drugstore. You can order stuff on Ulta and Sephora, and it's like, it's just crazy. But one of my other big recommendations is just for any beginner, not beginner, when you're doing your makeup, the best thing to do is accentuate your best feature. So whatever you like the best, because it's really not the best feature to a random person. It's what you like the best about your face.
Yeah.
Put that at the forefront. So accentuate it. If you love your eyes, or if you love your eyebrows, or if you love your lips, like bring attention to that with your makeup. And there's so many great ways to do that, right? You can do like a winged eyeliner, or get your favorite mascara and really make your lashes as big as you can make them, or just put that eyebrow gel in that like makes your eyebrows actually look a little bit cleaner than if you don't do anything to them. Or wear a red lipstick. Whatever works for you and makes you feel beautiful, like make it that feature that's the center of attention. And usually I would say don't accentuate two features at once, because that's always going to look like a little garish.
It's gonna be like, scream.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, are we in costume central? Cool.
Are you a clown today? That's because I think I've shared this with you before, that I've always been really nervous about using color in eyeshadow because I don't want to look like a clown. I have been experimenting a little bit more, and I learned that I don't know how to use silver right now, but I can work with the golds and the browns and stuff. And that actually works really nice. And I used to be kind of addicted to eyeliner, like not in a bad way, just like I would only use eyeliner and I wouldn't use anything else. And now I learned, now I've learned how to use the eyeshadow, and I don't even have to put the eyeliner on if I don't want to, or if I'm too tired one day and I just don't want to put that on. I like that there's different options, and I've always been just like, there's only 3 things that you can use, and this is how you use them. But there's options, and you can change it up, and if one thing works for one occasion, and then another thing works for another occasion, or you need something heavier for another event or whatever it happens to be. This is like the first time in my life I've got like really, really clear skin, so I've been able to get.
It looks great. I was actually thinking I was going to comment. It looks fantastic. So
I don't have any foundation on right now. Like I do not wear anything.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, so I haven't had to. I have not had to experiment with makeup for a very long time, and now that I'm getting older, I'm like, I should probably start to look into some stuff. Just like. I've been lazy long enough.
If you don't have to wear a foundation, you shouldn't. Like, wear a tinted moisturizer if you really want just a little bit of something to even out your skin. But like, you are living the dream scenario here. So take advantage while you can.
I will. It is funny. Like, everybody tells me, you look like you're 12, you look like you're 14. And I'm like, well, you know what? I just read that as they're all just jealous of my skin. That's just
they are. That is what it is. I'm jealous of your skin. Is that the conversation we're having? Like, yes.
Well, now that we've all established the mutual jealousy here, because I love your hair, so we can trade. So there we go. I've completely lost track of where we were going, but
you know what? It's fine. It happens.
Yeah. Oh, that's the one thing. This is my my one piece of advice that I've learned the hard way, is for people that buy something that somebody may have recommended or you think is good, if that doesn't work for you, drop it. Like, because X person who's famous or X person who's a close friend of yours said that this is good for them, that means it's good for them. That doesn't mean it's good for you. So what happened to me was I needed some new makeup remover. And I was changing brands, and so I picked up a brand, and it was recommended by the lady in the store. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to get it. She must know what she's doing. And I bring it home, and I start to use it to take my makeup off, and my eyes turn red, and I start getting cloudy-eyed. And I was like, okay, I'm allergic to this. And so, but the stupid thing is, my initial reaction was not, I need to stop doing this immediately. My initial reaction is, there's something wrong with me. I'm not doing this right.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up returning it. I can't remember what I ended up doing with it, but I did stop using it because it kind of scared me. Yeah. But
I'm very glad.
I was just like, what is wrong here? Like, I'm doing something wrong. No, you know what? I think I'm done. I think I'm good with it.
I'm glad it all worked out and that you're not blind. That would be very upsetting.
That would have been a bad Yelp review for sure on that product.
Yeah, slightly.
So just kind of changing gears here. We've really focused on fashion a lot for like the first half of this or the first section of this, but the remaining topic that I wanted to cover was really kind of your use of social media. And I'm a huge fan of what you've kind of done with your brand. You're one of the channels that I follow because it makes me feel good to watch it. You have a very positive attitude, and I don't. There's not a lot of that. Most people, you watch YouTube channels and they're ranting about this or they're yelling about that, and that's all well and good. It's fun, it's fine, but I like to kind of balance that out with a channel that's like positive and talking about something that's not quite so heavy necessarily. So I really do have to commend you, first of all, for being able to keep a positive like face on social media. It can be a tough thing to pull off, and I'm guilty of falling into the other side as well. But it's kind of like in a day of social media hate, how do you like keep your mindset kind of in a more positive atmosphere and like avoiding like the back and forth and the pointing fingers kind of mentality that is basically social media?
Yeah, no, for sure. A big thing for me was at the very beginning of my launching my blog and launching my YouTube channel, I was reading the comments. And the reason I was reading them, and I still read them now, because I want to communicate with my followers, right? There's such a big difference between a celebrity and a content creator, because a celebrity is very apart from their fans.
Yeah.
Whereas a content creator, like, because you're on Twitter, you're communicating with the people who follow you, because those are the people you're kind of creating relationships. So you do have to be in the comments kind of chatting with people, because that's how you create relationships. But of course, you're also going to come across those people who just say horrible, horrible things. Yeah. So at the beginning, I was a little like, oh, this is a lot. Like, taking it back. Wow. Okay. This is what we're doing. And honestly, at some point, I just kind of stopped reading the comments until maybe 3 hours later, when it wasn't so hot in my head, when I wasn't as like, oh, okay, I want to see exactly what people are saying as they're writing it. And something about looking at it after the fact made it laughable what people were saying, because it wasn't like in the heat of the moment, I'm really excited, and now I'm just immediately seeing negative responses. I'm seeing, the positive responses and sifting through, because those are great. And I love that. Like, there are people who have been following me from the very beginning who I know their names, and I'm just like, those guys are awesome. Like, I love these guys. And then there are the people who are terrible, who I'm just like, I'm sorry that this is your life. This sounds sad that this is how you view the world. So that was the thing for me, is like just laughing that this is how people spend their time, is right, like being trolls.
I mean, that is like putting a little bit of like time distance between yourself and the comments, I think, is really helpful. I've never actually thought about it like that, but I have done that, like especially with my YouTube. I don't go and look at the comments. Like, I get notifications, oh, I got some comments. I don't go and look at them usually, because I'm getting them while I'm at work, and so I usually don't get a chance to look at them until maybe in the evening, or maybe even a couple of days later. And I'm happy to read them, but it's so much easier. Like, I never thought of it until you brought it up, but it is a lot easier when it's a couple days after the fact, rather than I just put out this video and I'm so excited about it, or I put out my dance videos and I'm so excited about it, or whatever. And if I get a nasty comment immediately, then it's like, I did all that work and then you're just crapping all over it. All right.
I think there's also definitely for me a difference between the sorts of content that I put out, because if I put out my beauty videos or my fashion content, that stuff, if somebody's going to write something negative, it's usually something stupid. It's the times that I'm a little bit more tense about the response is when I'm putting out my commentary pieces. The stuff that's like, okay, this could definitely rub people the wrong way. And if that's the case, then I read those comments because I want to see if they actually have a point. But the problem for me is, if you're going to write something, then you have a point, but what you say is something really kind of in a terrible way, I'm not going to respond to you. So that for me really bothers me, because sometimes people actually will make a point that I would like to discuss with them, because that's true. Maybe I didn't address that in my piece, but I can't, because you said it in such a way that I don't know what this conversation is going to turn into.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be the person who's going to be in a name calling contest here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to avoid that comment. But if you were to say something in a nice and respectful way that was disagreeing with what I'm saying, I'm absolutely willing to talk about it, because I think that that's kind of the point of the whole thing, is to start a conversation.
I mean, that's usually why you're putting out that kind of content, is so that people can say, well, wait a minute, I thought that this was different here. And then you can even counter and say, well, here's why I did think about that. And here's why I didn't actually come to the same conclusion. I love those conversations. But it is like, I don't know, something. Twitter is the worst for this.
Yes.
The heat of the moment, the back and forth, and I have got to get that person because they said something dumb. Like that is it's just so easy to fall into that trap, and my Italian temper just gets poked a little too often, I guess. But I like, at the end of the day, those are the kinds of conversations that are really worthwhile when you're back and forthing with somebody. And even if you guys come away disagreeing, at least you had the conversation and you can kind of have the mutual respect of, okay, I disagreed with this person 100%, but she came by her opinion honestly. And that's kind of, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do with my content is, you might disagree with me, you might think I'm dumb, but at least you can say, you know what, she thought this. Yeah, she thought A, B, C, D, and she got to E. And even though I did not get to that same point, we each thought about the same things, and we rationalized our position. And
no, that's something I really enjoy about your content. Absolutely, is that I can tell where you're coming from. It's not just, ooh, like, here's something that I feel. like you definitely have a point of view come from years of trying to understand this stuff, which is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this on my last episode, which was actually my first video podcast in probably 2 years, but I talked about this, how this is my 10-year anniversary of kind of being on Twitter and being involved in this whole scene of social media and back and forth and everything. And so I have come from, like, my positions are certainly different now than they were when I was 18, when I started, but I've definitely thought through each step, and I've been, taking criticism for a very long time, and thinking things through that I might not have otherwise thought through had I not been exposed to social media or been exposed to other ideas. So I think that social media has not always gotten the best of reputations because of all the nastiness, but I think that people forget about the fact that you can have conversations with people you disagree with. They may not be the most fruitful all the time, but you're being exposed to so many different ideas that you're really going to be honed in on your own arguments if you're actually thinking these things through.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really funny because I truly did not understand Twitter until I started my blog. I was like, I don't really get the point of this. And then when I started my blog and I started getting input from people and ideas, and just, for me, one of my rules about Twitter is, personally, and this is not true for everybody, but for me, I was like, I'm just never going to do a hot take. That's never going to be something I do, because I know I might regret it. So I'm always going to, if I have an idea, I'm going to sit on it for like a couple of hours, make sure that it's actually something I want to say. And then if I say it, like, I can take responsibility for it. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to have to, apologize 2 weeks later when something bad happens. Yeah. So that was just a personal rule for myself. So Twitter became something for me where I ended up finding all of these people who had a lot of shared values and a lot of shared ideas. And that was a really fun thing. And if I can, like, make my corner of Twitter just a little bright spot for people, that makes me very happy.
And that's pretty much what you've been. I'm more of a Instagram and YouTube follower of you, because you are a very visual content creator. Yes. But I follow you on Twitter, and I think your content's fantastic. So I did want to wrap things up with a final question. Do you have any advice for people who are looking to start a social media brand? How to get started? Basically the same question with the fashion and the makeup tutorials. What are some do's and don'ts when you're trying to start a social media brand?
Yeah, so I would say definitely a major do is do something you care about. Don't try and fit into a mold that anybody else is telling you that you should do. Just do something that you like. So for me, I had been interested in being a fashion designer when I was younger. So that was something I loved. And then when I was 21, I learned how to do makeup because my skin was so bad, and that became something I was passionate about. And then opera, I've been doing since I was 16. And really, for me, I wanted an outlet for my singing and for all of these other passions. So doing that meant that I have a plethora of stuff to talk about. It's just all the stuff that I like to talk about, and I never run out of ideas. So if you are going to start something, do something that you feel like you're never going to run out of ideas. You just always are going to have something bubbling up, which is I think a great thing. It's like an outlet, which is awesome. And then as well, I think if you are creating good content, then people will want to listen to what you're talking about. So always don't try to take good quality pictures, try to, put out good quality videos. But at the end of the day, if what you're talking about is something you would want to hear someone talk about, then they're going to want to listen.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's been my philosophy.
Yeah. I mean, those are pretty much the same rules that I've been trying to follow. One thing that I really have been even, I guess, getting more passionate about in like my later years. I sound so old, but I've been doing this for 10 years. So, but like in the kind of the latter half, I've noticed that there's just not a lot of, I shouldn't say not a lot of, there are plenty of female political commentators, but there's not a lot of female political podcasters necessarily.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I especially like to bring women on my show, because I see they have, they might be writing for the Federalist, or they might be writing for some other outlet, or you might see them on TV, but you're not necessarily seeing them in this sphere. And so that's something that I like to bring women on and have them talk about politics or have them talk about fashion. This channel has been very much an evolving experiment of the different topics, because I don't want to just be pigeonholed into one little thing. I want to be able to talk about politics, but then I also want to push that aside and talk about the TV series that I like, or the fashion struggles that I've had, or whatever it happens to be. So I think you've got a really great I don't know, maybe mishmash isn't the right word, but you've got a lot of different things going on your channel, so that it keeps things interesting. You're not just, okay, we're just going to do fashion, right, or we're just going to do makeup. This is not just a one size fits all kind of a channel. You've got all these different interests, and they all kind of mesh together really nicely, but they give you different topics of, here's what we're going to talk about this week, or here's what we're going to talk about this week, or something like that. So
I really appreciate that. And I think that it's kind of what you were saying is, if you make your brand rather than Kelly the political person, rather than, or if it's just Kelly, then all of a sudden you have so much more to talk about for the days that, okay, I'm not really wanting to talk about politics.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something different today. I want to talk about, I want to talk about fashion. I want to talk about beauty. I want to talk about whatever it is. You get the opportunity to do that because you didn't pigeonhole yourself. So I definitely agree with that. I mean, you can see I used to have 4 things on the top of my site, and one of them was relationships. And then I felt like that was too pigeonholed. So I opened that up to lifestyle. And I used to have a few different things. And then it started changing because I wanted to be able to talk about commentary, and I wanted to talk about home decor, and I wanted to talk about, I'm sure soon I'm going to start putting on cooking. And it's like, I just want the ability to do that. So lifestyle is kind of a catch-all.
I did final note, I did love your fall decorating video.
Oh, thank you.
I loved seeing everything, and I loved being able to compare it to all the stuff that I have. One thing, and I feel kind of bold for saying this, but just one piece of advice.
Yes, please.
Is with pillows. You can just buy pillows and then change out pillowcases, because that's something that I do with mine. I just bought the size pillows that fit where I want them to be, and then Amazon has some really beautiful custom made, not very expensive pillowcases. That's just one note that I would like to make.
That's a great idea, and I'm gonna do that. Okay. Thank you for that advice. And then I don't have to try and store 500 pillows in a bin.
Because I was going through the same issue last year with my pillow, shopping spree that I was going on, and I was like, I lived in a studio. I don't want 15 pillows in here, but I want to be able to change things out, because I want my fall set, and then I want my Christmas set, and then I want my Valentine's set. So now I just have a bunch of pillowcases that are easy to store.
So much smarter, so much easier to store. Great idea.
There we go. All right. So I really want to thank you for coming on, Abby. This has been just a delight to have you on the show, and I want to have you back so we can talk music and opera and any other topics that we may have missed on the show today. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I do appreciate you coming on. Everybody, please like and subscribe this video. Go over and subscribe to Abby's channel, Classically Abby. Follow her on Twitter and all the other social media platforms. And I will talk to you guys on the next episode.